For all the Jural Assemblies 51 names and debts. April 23, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. Immediately following an attendant upon Texas entering the Union, a reshuffling of the Federal Territorial Government began and a change in nomenclature was adopted by the Municipal United States Government. This started in 1845 and culminated in 1851. Prior to that, the municipal government functioned using the nomenclature of Roman civil law and the conventions of Latin. In Latin, the greatest power and respect and political status is indicated by the use of all small letters. A name written in all small letters indicates the political status of a free patrician in their private capacity, Flavius Josephus. Thus, until 1851, the Republican states occupying the soil jurisdiction of this country are all referenced and written in municipal documents using all small letters: Texas, Wisconsin, Florida, and these states are all known to be represented by business organizations DBA Texas Republic and Republic of Texas, for example. This made it easy to literally see what jurisdiction of each Republican state was being referenced, and in this case, the soil jurisdiction is being indicated by the use of all small letters. After 1851, the Municipal United States Government adopted English conventions. After that, the soil jurisdiction had to be directly referenced in the text, because the soil jurisdiction of Texas looks the same as the land and sea jurisdiction of Texas in English. It's all signed as Texas without any finer distinction available in English text. This causes confusion for people delving into old documents, but it's not really that confusing. In the earlier Latinized documents, Texas is the national soil jurisdiction of the Republican state operated by the people. Texas is the land jurisdiction state operating the international jurisdiction of the people. As letters are capitalized in Latin, a loss of political status and power is indicated. Flavius Josephus is a free man. Flavius Josephus is an indentured servant or office holder. Flavius Josephus is a slave of Rome. Thus in the old Latinized documents that you run across in your research, a reference to Virginia is talking about the soil jurisdiction of the colony or the Republican state, depending on the time frame, while a reference to Virginia is talking about the international land or sea jurisdiction of the colony or the Republican state, and if, very rarely, you run across a reference to Virginia in old pre-1851 papers of the territorial or municipal governments, this indicates the global jurisdiction of the area that is subject to Rome, but nonetheless attached to the ownership of the Republican state, Virginia. There was a resurgence of these Latinized conventions in this country following the Second World War, when the Romanized Municipal United States Government exerted itself and issued persons in the name of American state citizens who were wrongly registered as territorial United States citizens. This is because the territorial United States military government was in debt to the Pope and the Holy See. They had earlier in the 1920s to 1940s created territorial franchises for themselves, operating in names identical to our given names and appearing to be proper names in English, but having been registered as British Foreign Situs Trusts operating in the international jurisdiction of the sea, not recorded as the given names of American state nationals. The British Territorial United States Government, having accomplished this fraudulent, unlawful conversion and identity theft, then sold these fake franchises as salvaged property presumed to belong to the former Confederate States of States to the Roman Pontiff. The Roman Pontiff then converted these into wards of the Municipal United States Government, and various incorporated entities operating under these slave names were created, most especially, a pauper doing business under a name styled as John Doe, a Sestuikevi estate trust doing business under a name styled as John Michael Doe, and a public transmitting utility doing business under a name styled as John M. Doe. As things stand, the British Territorial Government has been briefly subjected to Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and the Municipal United States Corporation claiming to own all these various entities as wards of the various municipal states of states is undergoing liquidation. At which point, we have stood up and said, wait a minute, there's been a mistake. 1. We were never at sea and never knowingly or willingly acting as British territorial United States citizens despite the unconscionable falsified registrations indicating that we were. 2. Therefore, we and our assets were not available for the British Territorial United States Government to sell to the Roman Pontiff. 3. We are here at home, standing on the land and soil jurisdiction of our states, owed every jot of the constitutions, and also owed the return of our natural birthright as states free and clear of any debt or encumbrance. We are also owed any profit realized from the lease and use and trading upon of our private and public property. This is why we are owed a lot of money from both the British government and the Vatican. Both are under solemn treaties and commercial service contracts, and both have acted in gross breach of trust. Both have taken advantage of and attempted to cheat generations of Americans via the undisclosed and unconscionable contracts provided by phony birth registrations, used to create the legal presumption that we were all choosing to be counted as United States citizens, and that we were, moreover, leftover rebels and abandoned assets of the defunct Confederate States of States, instead of being peaceful American state nationals native to states of the Union that were never involved in the Civil War, never at sea, and never engaged in international commerce at all. No doubt, after 80 years of silence, they thought they were going to get away with it, and it has been quite a shock to find that we are still awake and still alive, and that we contest and rebut their falsified records and presumptions being made against our country, our populace, and our lawful government.